Iris, how wonderful to see you.
Good morning.
Good
Nice to see you as well.
And the sun is certainly
Yeah.
with you, and the sun is with me.
Nice. Yes, it feels nice.
Iris, a lot has happened.
Yes,
We're in some different times altogether.
absolutely. New leadership, still chaos. You know, the state of the state. Yeah, a lot has happened, probably in your life, in my life. Transition.
Transition.
Hmm.
One of the things I'd love to talk about with you, Iris, because the last time we spoke, we were discussing American Real, London Real, your practice, your clinical psychology practice, and your work. And since then, COVID happened, the pandemic happened to all of us. And I kept in touch, and you kept in touch, and it was beautiful because I was making sure that a lot of our global sparks, you're one of them, was safe and well, and you were. And then I lost touch with you, and I began to feel there was something not quite. So I was so happy to hear from you. Iris, bring us up to date. What's been going on?
Oh, wow. What hasn't been going on? I don't know if I've spoken with you since my brother had passed away.
No.
I talked to you. Yeah. My brother had died. Um, and it's like a lot of, not by natural causes. He was younger. He wasn't in the state. So there was a lot of things. I think sometimes we take things for granted. We're not really mad, but we're like principle. So we hadn't spoken in a really long time, probably about a decade. And we had just gotten back in touch, and, we were going to talk, and he had plans to visit. And probably about, he wrote me a letter, which was odd because people don't typically write letters. It almost was like foreshadowing, a premonition of sorts, because he said all the things like that I would have wanted to say, or a conversation we would have wanted to have, so there would be no questions like left. So just one of those, I guess you could call it a synchronicity. You could call it, I don't know. I think it's just being in touch with self and kind of knowing without knowing, if that makes sense.
Mm.
So anyway, you know, uh, so that was unexpected. And I think that was kind of the first thing that had made me kind of rethink of purpose and, the reason we're here, and everyone works so hard and everything's tomorrow. And we take all this time at our work and our school and all these titles that we have, right? That who knows what they mean, right? Mean different things to different people. And I think that, most of those things we spend the most time on are the things that we can be replaced. At work, we're just an item number, a title. Before our obituary, I think I read this somewhere, before our obituary even hits the paper, they're going to have someone else in our seat. So the purpose in that, and I'm not saying that there is no value or purpose in what we do. I just think just to not take things for granted, and put them in a hierarchy, I suppose. So that was like the first. And fast forward some time, and I did struggle with that. I'm human, and even though I'm a clinician, knowing isn't doing, and I think sometimes that'd be called cognitive dissonance. That makes it a little bit tougher because you do know and you're not doing. So and I think that there were some other things I had most of my life, probably given 85% of what my successes away, and maybe kept 15, and I think on surface level that sounds like good, and I think I'm going to fast forward to a point of, I had done that so much, that I had brought in people in my home that I had taken care of. First, it was a female and her children. And then, because she was in an abusive situation, unsafe environment, kids couldn't play, so on and so forth. And so I had said, I have all this extra space. Why don't you come on up and we could pull our resources together? I think just as humans, and also mostly as females, supporting one another. I don't think that happens enough, and so I was happy to do it. And so, I don't know, a week later, I get home from work, and her ex is there, and so now it's 2 adults and 4 kids. I'm like, okay, didn't really agree, and it didn't feel right, but sometimes you're like, all right, just went with it. And they ended up bringing one more person, another adult. And so I had supported like fully, financially, emotionally, socially, like pretty much everything. Their payments, because they still have car payments, so on and so forth. The holidays came, they have children. I'm not sure how I did it. Grace and gratitude. I don't worry about that. If you look at the raw numbers, I mean, people are like, holy, how do you do it? I don't know. The numbers don't match. Um, but I just know it'll work out. It might not look pretty. I might kind of start to lose a little hope, but I know that ultimately, I just don't worry about those things. I can't explain it any other way. Um, so fast forward to about February. Um, I had a conversation in the kitchen of my house, not really anything major, just an adult having a difference of opinion and expressing it in a whatever humane way. And the fast forward of it is I was physically assaulted in my kitchen by 3 adults. And I work for the state. I work with forensics. I work with people who are unstable. I've been physically assaulted at work 4 times, but never once did I ever fear for my safety or my life. And I'll be honest, at that point in my kitchen, I really did. And things go by like very quickly for your mind. Thankfully, um, long story, someone came through and they called the police or whoever. It ended well. I mean, obviously there was some trauma, and that's why my hair is short. There was like epoxy and stuff like that, like put in my hair, so I had to cut it, and so I had to kind of get that done. But it was a chemical, so that was like I think it was 4.5 hours there, probably 5.5 in the ER. So it was kind of very extensive, and that was the shift. That was the shift, and I'll be honest, that kind of triggered a lot of things that I really thought I worked through. It was a significant trauma. I was angry at myself because how could I not see it? And I think I just shut down for a minute. I just shut down, and like nothing really mattered to a certain extent. It was still, but it wasn't a calm. It was like the abyss. It was the black hole. If it could be described, I mean, that's to me what it was. It wasn't a here or there or then. It was just, I don't know, an existence, so to speak. And like through that, I just decided, I mean, got to get up. I think one thing I tell my clients is that life, if you want to deduce problems to a pond, if you have to cross the pond to get to the other side, you're wearing muck boots. I mean, you're going to get wet. You're going to get, but the quicker you get through it, you have to. But if you don't do anything and you just go in the middle of the pond, which is like not doing anything about your problems, if you sit there, well, little by little, you're going to get more and more wet. Your clothes are going to be saturated. Your skin is going to it's just going to deteriorate and nothing is going to be resolved. And in that kind of spirit and mindset, I just kind of got up one day. You have to. And irony would be as I did this, signed up for this training, and I was very excited for that opportunity. It's EMDR. It's just a type of therapy, and it has to do with bilateral stimulation. And it's the irony is it being it's a fast, safe, effective way to treat trauma. And so it forced me on day one when I got back, to do that. And so I think because of my recent experience, I really wanted something, and I am familiar with that therapy. But since I took that, it's been changed and refreshed, and it's more kind of, it's things I've already been doing, which was refreshing, but it was just a lot richer because they added like bilateral stimulation, which just stimulates both your emotional and your rational side of your brain. And basically trauma is like being stuck. And and it gets you unstuck, and so it had more meaning to me, and I really loved it, and it really works. So I was excited, and I think I just rethought and regrouped, and that's when I said, I really think our true purpose is truly to be happy, because people ask who you are, and I think that the answer to that question should be happy, whatever that means to you.
Yes.
I think when we're truly happy, and I don't mean surface happy, I don't mean that item that is short term. I mean when you just can't stop smiling, when the sunshine against the back of your head is enough, when just everything is just looked at differently, when the problem, right, is the solution and the solution is the problem. You know, it's kind of intertwined. And so I think it just really, I'm grateful, as silly as it sounds, that it happened, because I would have never given myself the successes that I had. And I think that I'm not going to change who I am, and I can't ever see evil or, you know, or feel it because it's not who I am. So I'm not mad that I didn't see them, you know. It's just, but it changed, like I said, the way that I function in a manner that's 180 degrees. I still help people, but it's just in a different, richer, I think, healthier way.
What would you say, Iris? Two things that jumped out to me there. Do you now see that you separate your clients from your home so
Say that one more time.
that you are in a safe environment? Do you separate your clients from home?
Well, this wasn't like a client situation. This was a humane. This was a friendship.
Yeah.
Was, you know,
but it's
and
ended up in terms of your safety was jeopardized.
Well, I think it was beyond like a safety measure. I think just in the manner in which I function, you know, which if I put myself first, no one would be in that inner sanction, because that's my mindfulness. That's when I get myself together. That's when I decide like my day and my peace and my dog and whatever else, you know, I want that to be.
That's the point I was making. I wanted you to tell me where it is that you feel safe.
To be honest, everywhere. I really feel safe everywhere. I don't really think that safety is an illusion. You know, safety is an illusion. Each one of us has the propensity to be subjected to violence at any point in our homes, at work. I mean, really, the grocery store, the mall. I mean, you name it, in a vehicle, and just so. I think again, safety is an illusion, and I don't live in a mindset of fear. I mean, I honestly believe that we're date stamped. I believe like our time, our beginning and ending is kind of our creator, the universe. Like that's determined elsewhere. You know, I mean, I don't think it's like that movie, you know, I don't think it's that scary, but I think that that's predetermined. And like, for me, again, safety is an illusion, but I think it's more to do with happiness, because certainly when you're subjected to such hatred, it's really on such an energetic, I've never seen like evil, like hate, you know, until then. And it really does have a look, and it has a very fierce, you know, force, I think, to it. And I think the safety, what you were asking, the safety component is really, it allowed me to kind of look at who I was as an individual and what I thought purpose was. I thought my purpose was my talent to give in the raw. That makes sense. But my purpose is to be happy, and my talent is my ability to take those negative things from others and churn them out positively. You know, and that's very different.
It's very different.
You know, than my other mind.
It's how I've operated for a long time, because I was, because of the nature of my ex-husband's work, there was always crime involved and always danger involved. So I withdrew from it, and life changed as a result, because as you quite rightly say, you can't be in cotton wool. You can't be in protected cotton wool the whole time. But you can bring peace to anything. You can bring it.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly submerged in evil, you don't have the time and the energy to do it. But if you have that talent to be able to say, look, I'm bringing peace here, there's the different outlook. So come back to what has changed, Iris, for Iris?
I think my focus, like I said, for my private practice kind of changed.
Yes.
You know, instead of worrying about the space, because obviously during COVID, a lot of us lost a lot of things. First thing, you know, you're not allowed to meet with groups. And that was kind of, I did a lot of group things. Yeah. And then it's like the spacing, you don't have that anymore. And there were so many things. And so I really stopped chasing that. I stopped focusing on it and just started focusing on, you know, what was around me, just to helping as I could. And it just grew naturally. And before I know it, this person is, can I tell so-and-so about you and your name? And so I've been very busy that way. And it's really nice because my daughter being in college, I've gotten to meet a lot of her friends and her sorority sisters, and they're really good. And I know there's a lot of stereotypes about sororities, but her sorority's Phi Mu, and they have the highest GPA. So they're very well-rounded, beautiful, inside and out young ladies. And I think what they talk about is when they go to have therapy, first of all, there's a lot of stigma, but secondly, they think it's too by the book. It's too
Rigid.
yeah, it's like, and how does that make you feel? And that's the right answer, but they're looking for the real answer. They're looking for the kind of, and it's not anything major. It's anxiety and it's depression and it's
Yes.
those types of things, I think. But what my mindset and perspective, and I've had a lot of times to speak to these young ladies, and again, not in the capacity of trying to solicit anyone for anything. It's just having a conversation, philosophical. I love college and that vibe because it's such an open market, if you will. It's an open space. It's just, I love that vibe because it is open and malleable. But basically through that, I don't believe in mental illness the way the DSM-5 does. I'm not saying I don't respect it, don't follow it. I understand what the APA means in my ability. I'm not trying to practice, outside of that scope. But I'm saying, excuse me, my belief is that it's not what's wrong with you, it's what happened to you. I believe that trauma, people think it has to be war or it has to be something horrific. I mean, trauma, believe it or not, is when you cry too long and you're an infant and you don't get like your needs met. That manifests later because anything negative that goes in your body, right? I mean, how do you get it out? Like it has to come out somehow, whether that was a trauma, something simple from then, till now, and no one really talks about that. And I really do feel like it's a more of what happened to you, as opposed to what's wrong with you. And when people simply have the opportunity to express that, that's how they get unstuck.
Yes, you give space for that. It's giving space. The opportunities that came your way were, listening to you, as a result of the pandemic. So
Yeah.
would you say that your private practice has grown as a result of the pandemic?
Yes and no. It's grown in capacity as I've done a lot more meaningful work, like pro bono things. So in that regard, because there's a lot less means and a lot more demand. So I've given in that capacity. So yes. And at this point, my numbers could go up. However, I'm not there. And me personally, I can't just have someone to have a warm body. I think that there is a real energy and a great relationship and responsibility when you reach out. You just can't not. And I'm not ready to take more people. But so the short is, yes, there's a lot more people that need because of the pandemic and all the issues, but there's also a lot less funds and means. So I do it more on the capacity of how I feel. I understand I'm one person, but if I can help or provide someone the tools, because typically they don't need me, they just need me provide them or show them the tools and the power within, and then they, do it themselves. And I think it's empowerment. So
yes, it's an important factor of withdrawing when they are self-empowered and strong enough to be able to move forward. This morning here in Britain, I had the BBC News on, and it was Prince Philip's memorial service. And because of COVID, it hadn't happened during the time that he passed away, but it happened this morning. And I'm mentioning that to you because in the speeches that were given about him, they were pretty tremendous, I must admit, in terms of his service. And one of the things, because I had a dad who was working with youth, and therefore the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme was fundamental for funding for him, that was talked about by a young lady who was born in London, but Nigerian family background, and had come through the Duke of Edinburgh Award Scheme, gone to university, done more degrees after that, and become an accountant, etc., etc. And she was giving her thanks to him. And the reason thanks were given were because of the opportunity that he gave, the award scheme gave her for her career. So what would you say in your respect? For me, he has always been somebody inspirational because of his work. And I'm somebody that is aware of inspirational people. So who would you say, number one, inspires you, and two, has given you opportunities?
As silly as this may sound on the surface, let me explain, is myself. I think that I inspire me. I think that I used to look at myself differently. The shortest version of the longest stories, I've been on my own since I was 12 years old, and I'm very resilient. I've had help along the way. I've had great opportunity. My biggest opportunity was Michelle Van Amy. She has passed away. I'd give anything to talk to her again, but I do in other ways. um, you know. So she gave me the first opportunity. That's when I moved to Vermont, so I could have a stable place to stay and finish high school, and help me get on track for college. So she gave opportunity then. I think there's opportunity along the way. I think even within trauma, there's opportunity, and that's what I mean. That typically, when people look for answers, right, they look so far. They think it's difficult, or somehow have to invent it. But typically, the solution is the problem, you know, and the problem is the solution. And it sounds simplistic and silly, but it's really true.
Mm.
I think the reason I say self is because I'm the one that I should compete with. I'm the one that I give credit to. Even when I fall, I have a good heart, even when others take it for granted, and I think getting back on track myself is accepting exactly where I'm at. It may not be where I want to be, but it's where I need to be. And I can envision, my parallel self. And I believe in that. And I believe in life as we're just energy, and like will always exist in some form or fashion. I believe that we're co-creators. I believe that, again, our real soul purpose really is just to be happy. When we're happy, truly, we know what direction to go in and what serves us. And so in that regard, I think it did a 180. So yes, my private practice is thriving in the ways that it need be, and what it's meant to be, and what I want it to be moving forward. It's not about, the dollars and the cents that I bring in. It's really in the light and the sunshine, and the sharing of, like, our pain, our joy, our hopes and inspirations, I think, just along the way. And I love that. Even like the state, like, gave an opportunity. I believe the universe gives opportunity whether we take it or not. I mean, I've been going through a separation the last 4 years, and this year it's like finally there's like resolution, and it's happy, and it's not people trying to take everything. And so that, I think, just it's timing. But obviously everything has a cost. I didn't know what I would do this time. I was starting to lose even my like vibe and hope, and I just kind of spoke to the universe, like, it's going to work out. Like, I know that I'm not alone, and you're here.
Believe.
I'll be honest. And what happened the next day, I went to work and there was an email. And for the first time since 2006, I was eligible for overtime for the state. And it was for direct care. And you know what? I sign up for every moment of every second. That's why I haven't really been around. I've been just rebuilding in a lot of ways and just celebrating opportunity. And I'm grateful to assist people in their daily living, and, from helping to bathe to their daily grooming, to, toileting, to, just talking to someone. And there's really dignity in those types of things. I apologize. That's my phone. I apparently didn't turn that one off. Excuse me. I apologize.
All right. That was alive.
Yes.
It happened.
Yeah, and people also know I don't really keep typical hours. If I'm able, I'll answer. And I don't always have the answers. I mean, I rely on a lot of different people, and I think that helping and giving of yourself and giving pieces of yourself are very different.
Yes.
And that's what I mean about, I think it's okay to tithe, but I think it's it's important because part of self-care is being selfish. People have taken that word and made it dirty, and it's not. Being selfish is self-care, and it's valid, and it's like very important, and it's vital. And I'm just really grateful and excited, and I just feel lighter and happier than like I ever did. And I'll be honest with you, it's just I just can't express it. It's leveling up. And I don't think I could have without what just happened. I feel more vibrant, and I've actually kind of, everything has grown since then, and I'm excited. And I'm actually going to add Instagram to my business and do daily videos because Jack inspired that. I was unable to upload on the forums. I have now some of the relaxation breathing. I would like to share the bilateral stimulation, just many things,
Yes.
So yeah.
That Instagram lends itself to. So
Mm-hmm.
you've mentioned Instagram, and this is obviously on Zoom, and it'll be edited on YouTube and then going out to Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, which is something I try to share to people. And coming back to you, where would you say you are in your digital experience now? Would you say you're a starter, you're a spotlighter, or you're a signature, meaning that, you're quite a veteran?
What's the one before the veteran?
A starter, somebody who's beginning to enjoy it and become
What's like right above this? Is there like a middle between the starter?
It depends really. A starter, and then somebody who is actually relaxed in it.
I think I'm going to go with starter. I think I'm going to be honest with, I'm going to go with starter. Because
not the spotlight, because I put you on the spotlight.
Well, I think that I'm a spotlight within being a starter. How's that? I'm a spotlight starter.
Yes, I like that answer.
So, yeah.
You mentioned Jack Ross, the friend that we have, the one from Scotland.
Yes.
And he lights up the spotlight because he enjoys the spotlight. So that's the example of somebody who's a starter is a starter. A spotlighter would be somebody like Jack. And then somebody's signature is more about me, because now I will give a plug about my book. It all starts with a conversation. And I heard from the publisher this morning, I have a birthday on Thursday, and I was really talking about the universe. I was really, really hoping that this would be published in paperback for my birthday. And it looks as if I might have my... Yes.
I want to go with you all day. That's going to be your birthday.
So beautiful. What I wanted to do was to have the book and show you the book, you see. So in paperback, it'll come out, and on it, it's dedicated to my two. I know you have a daughter who you adore and you love and you care greatly for. And I have two, a daughter and a son. And it's dedicated to the both of them. So coming back to you in the spotlight, and the starter and the beginning are...
I don't like titles. No. I don't know. I'd have to think about it and make up my own.
A mishmash.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think there's power in words, and I would really want to think about it and really give myself my own name. But it's your domain and forum. So the choice for you would be the spotlight starter.
Spotlight starter. I like that.
S squared.
I like that indeed. Where do you see your time in terms of what you attract? Because that's what it sounds like to me listening to you, that you actually attract people to you who need the solution for the problem and the problem to the solution. So where would you say your focus is now, Iris?
I think my focus is just on self. Because when I have myself right, which is mindset, and it's not narcissistic. It's not like I'm like, looking at myself aesthetically. It's looking myself, my behavior, looking at my emotion, looking at my impact, looking at what I gave that day. Was it enough? Was it too much? And that includes myself. That's what I mean when I say like self, because when that's right, we know it's right because everything around us falls into place. I think when we focus on those things externally outside of us, that's why we can't just reach it. And that's why I truly believe if it was truly self, and you've got that right, everything is like that. It just kind of comes into, it just shines on you. And it's just nice. It's kind of like we didn't plan the sunshine in the window. And this is the first time I've seen the sun in a few days. It's been freezing and snowing. So a lot of little things like in life, I think, mean bigger things. And that's, if we focus on self, we notice that. And when we do that, the people who need us, who are ready, show up. But I think sometimes people who want our help but aren't ready or who aren't good for us, we know that. We feel that. When I look back on those people I told you about, I knew along the way. I felt it, but there was something that compelled me. I have to help them. I have to because I can, because I have the gift and the skill. I have to. And that's what I mean about that change. Now, not so much. If I feel that it's right, I'll do it all day and it'll make me feel amazing. It doesn't matter time, place, energy. I'll get it done if I can, if it's that. But if it's any type of, it's not right. Like it just, and we know and it's, people call it your Ajna, you call it your sixth sense. I mean, I really think it's really being in tune with self. And when you're in tune with self, you're absolutely in tune with everything around you. And that's our connect to like the universe. And that's our greatest purpose. And I think when we can learn such simplicities, we get back on track. There's plenty of everything on this earth to share. And if we all found our happy and shared, there would be no want or need, and the things we could do would just be exponential and infinite. And it's such a simple thing. But it's kind of not really complicated. People complicate it by having different religions and different operational definitions of the same concept. I mean, religion is just operationally defined differences, but the conceptual framework is all the same, and so the divisiveness of difference and diversity is I think we focus on the wrong thing, and I agree with you. I think it all does start with a conversation, but I think people are so afraid of it. They run.
Yes, the conversation can highlight problems that a person have, A, in terms of confidence, B, in terms of trauma, C, in terms of complexities, and so on. But when you, as you have done, reached out and responded to my invite, I was keen to get you on just to capture Iris in her world of service. And you have. So what I wanted to finish with, really, on a good note in terms of where Iris feels at home and happy is where?
In my own skin. And in a way I haven't ever. And I'm just really grateful. And I think really it doesn't mean that I don't get nervous or things. I know everything, far from it. The more I know, the more I don't know. But I really think being very comfortable having those uncomfortable conversations, which again goes back to your book, which I cannot wait to read and share, because it really does go back to that concept of it all starts with a conversation and being comfortable with anyone, anywhere, being able to step forward with that conversation when everyone steps back, and just to shine in your own light and to be confident, even when others may laugh. When it's right, it's right. And so it can't be wrong. And it just all works out. Like, I mean, you and I, we always stay connected, even in my absence, so, but yeah, no, it's great always to be reconnected. And it's great when it's a reconnection on a level up, and I feel like you've been kind of doing your own leveling up, making moves, like writing books, and, a lot of people worldwide. That's like amazing. And I think you should also, understand that it does start with a conversation that you started somewhere along the way before you even started it. Probably when you were like just meeting Brian Rose and looking at him and all. I mean, but you are that person. You do the same thing, and you don't know who you reach. You have no idea the lives you change. And so if we're talking about dollars and cents, I mean, that's we know where Brian rolls, and I'm not saying he doesn't do good or doesn't deserve it. And he's absolutely, like you and I, are allowed to celebrate and should our successes. But I think on that level of what you do and your voice, I would say that there is equity, and I would value both you and he in the same light.
Thank you. I hear
that. It shines
that
on
sits
you.
well. That sits well,
Yeah.
and thank you for that. The fact that you mentioned Vermont was something quite special to me, because I've been following, and I bought the book, Mel Robbins's book, High Five Habit, smiling and doing that. And I think when you you spoke about shine your light and being your light. We dim ourselves, and the fact that you've come forward is very obvious to me. So you like the light, you like being in it, you like to share it, and so do I, which is why the energies there are comfortable. And you are right too in saying that there are conversations that can be uncomfortable, but it's being able to work through those conversations and feeling okay about that. So that's about boundaries, and that's for something that was a big lesson for me, boundaries, especially with children, adult children. And then once you've understood that, there's a big change. So I like the phraseology there about, uncomfortable conversations. They're going to be many.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you said that about adult children, because I've actually written a few books, but I'm waiting to publish. I want to wait till I'm finished with school. But one of them is about relationships with adult children. I think that a conversation is usually unilateral, but I think there are three sides. And I think I can't wait to catch up with myself. But no, I'm glad you did actually say that, and that's why I said that's like a spark, and you're absolutely, that's a feat in and of itself, maneuvering that.
I think for me, what happened was the discomfort of silences. The real uncomfortable feelings as a child in silences.
Tina, your appointment's here.
That's your call. It's timely because we are coming to the end, Iris, and I just want to say how wonderful it is to link up with you, and I'm so glad, and I appreciate the time, because it's quite obvious that people are, you're in demand and people want your attention.
Yeah, and there's other people that are, have appointments as well. Yes. So the day just keeps going, which is fine. So.
Thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to say before you leave?
Just thank you very much for what you do every day. And it starts with a conversation, and it's definitely a spark. And I love seeing your posts, and I love sharing them, and I love seeing your smile, because it just makes me want to smile too. So thank you for having me again. I look forward to being there in person one day, someday.
Yes, that would be lovely. Wouldn't that be nice?
I'm going to. I don't know
like
what I'm going to. So thank you.
Stay well and stay safe.
Absolutely. You as well.